I was seconds away from accepting the biggest award of my career, until my fiancé hijacked the mic, declared his love for another woman, and handed her the trophy that had my name on it. The world watched me get humiliated. I didn't cry. I disappeared. Now I'm back. This time the spotlight is mine. And I'm not giving it back. I had dreamed about that stage for 5 years. And tonight it was finally mine. The Celestial Crown Film Awards were in full swing, golden lights bathing the room in elegance, velvet seats filled with the biggest names in the industry. I sat front row in a wine-colored gown, fingers clasped loosely around the stem of my champagne glass. Composed. On the outside. Inside, my heart pounded in rhythms only I could hear. My name was about to be announced. Best Original Screenplay. Beside me, Adrian Cruz smiled. Camera perfect as always. He looked proud, affectionate even, as if this moment meant something to him. As if he hadn't been slowly drifting away for months. And the winner for Best Original Screenplay goes to... The host paused dramatically, flipping the envelope. Sienna Blake for Winter's Last Bloom. Applause erupted. I stood slowly, adjusted my shoulders and smiled as I stepped toward the stage. But before I could reach the podium, Adrian, my fiancé, the evening's co-host, walked ahead of me and raised his hand toward the mic. I hope you don't mind, he said with a charming laugh. But before Sienna gives her speech, I want to share something special. I froze. The audience quieted. The orchestra's cue faded awkwardly. Camera shifted focus. And then he said it. I've been seeing someone very special for the past 6 months. Tonight I want to make it official. He turned to the crowd. Maya Reed, will you come up here? The entire room sucked in a collective breath. And then Maya, social media sweetheart, influencer turned aspiring actress, rose from her table at the back, fake modesty smeared across her surgically sharpened smile. She walked down the aisle like it was her wedding aisle. As she stepped onto the stage, Adrian opened his arms and pulled her into a kiss. I stood rooted in place. 1 step from the stage. 1 step from what should have been mine. He hadn't just hijacked my award. He had used my moment to make his affair public. And then he did the unthinkable. He turned, holding the trophy that should have had my name engraved on it, and handed it to Maya. To the woman who inspires me every day. The applause was hesitant. Confused. I took 1 step forward, climbed the stage with a strange calm and reached for the mic. Interesting, I said, my voice even, especially since Adrian Cruz has been engaged to me for 2 years. A pin-drop silence followed. I turned my head slightly and let my smile sharpen. But please don't let me interrupt your fairy tale. Go on. Keep pretending. The crowd murmured, some in shock, others stunned. Maya's eyes widened. Adrian looked like a deer caught in headlights. The host tried to gesture me off stage, but I wasn't finished. Congratulations to the both of you. I hope betrayal tastes as sweet as attention. And then I handed the mic back, walked off stage and exited the venue without my trophy. I didn't cry. Not in the car. Not when I got home. Not even when my phone lit up with trending hashtags. Hashtag Adrian and Maya. Hashtag award show scandal. Hashtag Sienna deserved better. Instead, I poured a glass of red wine, kicked off my heels and sat across from my cousin Leah, who looked like she was about to burn the world down. He used you like a stepping stone, she snapped, scrolling through her phone. He humiliated you in front of the entire industry. That snake. Let him, I said quietly. Leah blinked. Let him, Sienna. I set the wine glass down and met her eyes. Let him believe this is the end of me. As it wasn't. The next morning my phone rang at dawn. It was the director of The Veil Between Us, the drama I'd written and been cast in. He sounded sheepish. Sienna. I'm sorry, but the investors pulled funding. We have to recast the role. They're bringing in Maya Reed instead. There was the first blow. Adrian had pulled strings. Or maybe he was the string. And Maya, ever eager to ride momentum, was the puppet bouncing her way into a role I had developed for over a year. Leah burst through the door 10 minutes later, tossing her tablet onto my desk. They think you're replaceable. I smiled. Perfect. They thought I was done. They thought I'd disappear quietly like every other scandal-smeared woman in this industry. But they'd forgotten one thing. My last name is Blake. My grandfather funded the first unionized writers' guild in this city. My father had created 3 of the highest-grossing indie studios in North America. My brother Jordan, he was the silent investor behind more than half of the streaming platform's original content. Me, I was just getting started. Call Jordan, I said. Tell him it's time. Leah's lips curled upward. Time for what? I picked up my coffee and stared out the window at the skyline. Time to take back what's mine. And burn everything they stole from me. By noon I had a plan. By sunset I had a war. Jordan arrived at my apartment in his usual low-key style. Black hoodie, sunglasses, phone glued to one ear. He looked more like a hacker than a film investor. Leah greeted him with a sarcastic salute. Captain Silent Bro arrives, she said, tossing him a croissant. Hope you brought more than carbs. He caught it one-handed and raised an eyebrow. I brought cash. I smiled. That was better. We sat around my kitchen island, sipping espresso while my world continued to burn online. Every gossip outlet was dissecting the previous night's betrayal like it was a national scandal. Adrian and Maya had given a joint interview that morning. Sometimes love comes unexpectedly, Maya had said, pretending to cry. We never meant to hurt anyone. Adrian nodded like a solemn martyr. The heart wants what it wants. My hands didn't tremble. My breath didn't catch. But Leah nearly threw her phone at the wall. Do they actually believe their own garbage? She fumed. They do, I said, unbothered. But so does everyone watching them. Jordan leaned back. Then it's time to shift the narrative. And that's when I said it. We're buying the rights to the veil between us. Leah choked on her coffee. Wait, what? Adrian thinks he owns it, I said. But he only bought distribution. The IP still belongs to the original author. Jordan, do you still have a way to reach her? Jordan tapped on his phone, pulled up a contact. Already messaged her this morning. She's not happy about Maya being attached to it. She said she'd rather bury the script than watch her play the lead. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Then we have our window. Jordan smirked. We're launching a studio? Leah grinned. Let's make it a spectacle. And just like that, the game changed. By the next day, the press had moved on to Maya's upcoming project. The Veil Between Us, now rebranded with her face all over the marketing. I let the news sit for exactly 48 hours. Long enough for pre-orders to start. Long enough for Adrian's smugness to peak. And then we dropped the bomb. Leah wrote the post. She always knew how to twist the knife. For the record, The Veil Between Us now belongs to SB Studios. Maya sweetie, return the dress. We're rewriting the lead. The internet exploded. People didn't even know I had a studio. That was the point. Later that evening I received a DM. Short. From Adrian Cruz. What the hell are you doing? I didn't reply. The next morning Ethan Wolf's assistant emailed me. Mr. Wolf would like to meet. Privately. Regarding your new project. I stared at the message for a full minute. Ethan Wolf. The Ethan Wolf. Reclusive director, cult favorite and box office genius. He hadn't worked in over a year. Rumor said he only took on stories that broke him first. And now he wanted mine? Jordan looked up from his coffee. Are you okay? Leah was already Googling stylus. Do you need an outfit that says, vengeful but visionary? I closed the laptop slowly. No. I'll wear black. Let's not confuse the message. Ethan Wolf didn't wait in trendy cafes or rooftop bars. He waited in an empty soundstage. One I recognized, it was the old backlit my father used to bring me to as a child. Dust floated in golden sunbeams slicing through the rafters. He stood in the middle, back to me, reading a printout of my script. I stopped a few feet away. You called. He didn't look up immediately. When he finally did, his eyes were a shade of storm gray, quiet, assessing, impossible to read. I watched your awards speech, he said simply. That wasn't a speech, I said, folding my arms. That was a rupture. His mouth quirked. He was honest. Brutal. Controlled. You mean savage. I mean captivating. I didn't know what I expected from Ethan Wolf. Maybe cold arrogance. Maybe standoffish brilliance. But he was something else entirely. Measured, sharp, dangerous in a way that didn't need to raise its voice. He handed the script back to me. I'll direct it. I blinked. Just like that. I've seen the other version. They butchered your pacing. Your protagonist became a pretty shadow. Sounds like Maya, I murmured. He didn't smile. This story is about grief and survival. Not mascara and Instagram filters. I stared at him. You're serious? Only ever. And just like that, our war became a revolution. Leah was practically dancing when I returned. Ethan Wolf, she screamed. You got Ethan freaking Wolf? Jordan raised an eyebrow. That'll shut them up. No, I said, my voice hardening. That'll shut them down. We posted the announcement at 10 a.m. sharp. By 10:17, Maya's team released a panicked press statement denying any misuse of intellectual property. By noon, Adrian's investors started pulling out. And by midnight I got another message. From Ethan Wolf. Let's meet again tomorrow. I have some notes. And also, I hate to admit it, but I'm curious to see how far you'll go. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I replied. Far enough to make sure they remember my name. And forget yours. The first day of auditions arrived wrapped in nerves and espresso. Leah showed up in head-to-toe black leather, looking like a PR assassin, while Ethan wore a gray hoodie and black jeans like he was auditioning to be the silence in a thriller. I, on the other hand, wore a fitted navy dress and red lipstick, because if I was going to rebuild my career from the ashes, I'd do it in style. Let the games begin, Leah muttered as she opened the door to the studio lobby. And just like that, the hall flooded with actors. Some I knew. Some I didn't. All of them had heard the rumors. That the veil between us was no longer Adrian Cruz's baby. That I was the new executive producer. And that Ethan Wolf, the director known for never compromising, was now attached. In the industry that made our project gold. And it made me the woman to impress. Ethan sat quietly in the director's chair, flipping through headshots. Every now and then he glanced up at the stage where an actor stumbled over a monologue. I sat beside him, notebook in hand, noting body language and micro-expressions. But it wasn't until he walked in that things shifted. Dylan King. Dark eyes. Lean build. A slight crooked smile like he knew a secret. He'd starred in a few indie films and was known for playing complex roles. He stepped onto the audition platform, looked directly at me and nodded. Ready when you are, he said. Then he began. And the room went still. He didn't perform the lines. He lived them. Pain, hesitation, grief. It was like he'd borrowed my heartbreak and fed it through his bones. When he finished, I couldn't speak for a second. Ethan turned to me. Thoughts. I gave the faintest nod. He's him. That was all Ethan needed. He wrote something down and moved on to the next name. By the time we wrapped, Ethan and I had narrowed the list down to a final cast. The supporting roles still needed refining, but the male lead? What? Leah leaned over my chair, whispering, You know Maya's going to lose it when she sees the casting list. She should have lost her mind when she accepted a role she never earned, I muttered. As if summoned by karma, my phone vibrated. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Then it vibrated again. And again. And finally I picked up, out of morbid curiosity. Hello. Sienna, came Maya's voice. Unfiltered. Breathless. A little cracked. I blinked. You do realize we're not friends, right? I didn't call to pretend, she said quickly. I wanted to talk. Please. For a moment I considered hanging up. But something in her tone made me pause. Talk fast, I said. I didn't know Adrian was going to do that on stage, she rushed. I mean, he told me he would make an announcement, but I didn't know it would be your award. I stayed silent. I swear I never wanted to hurt you like that. He promised me everything. Said you were over. Said you'd given up. I closed my eyes. You knew we were engaged. She fell quiet. I was young, she said finally. Stupid. But Sienna, this world, it eats people alive. I've worked for everything I have. I let out a cold laugh. Everything you have came from me. She didn't respond. I gave you the benefit of the doubt once, I said. That was my mistake. I won't make it again. Before she could beg further, I ended the call. The next morning we made the casting announcement. Official press release. Dramatic posters. A teaser video narrated by Ethan Wolf himself. The response was seismic. The real veil between us begins. Dylan King and Sienna Blake? That's the duo we didn't know we needed. Why who? Within the hour, Maya released a desperate apology video online. She wore no makeup. Her voice trembled. Tears balanced perfectly in the corners of her eyes. I made mistakes, she said. I got caught up. But I'm human. I hope you'll all give me a second chance. It was PR 101, remorse, vulnerability, and manufactured humility. But this time, no one bought it. The top comment read, "If Sienna Blake can get betrayed on stage and rebuild an entire studio in 3 weeks, Maya can cry without mascara." Another said, "Public sympathy is for victims, not co-conspirators." Maya's apology trended for a few hours, then fizzled. She was being replaced in brand deals. Adrian's team had gone radio silent. Their fairy tale had cracked. And I hadn't even released the trailer yet. That night, Ethan invited me to his private rooftop. The air was crisp. The city glittered beneath us like it was watching. "I heard about Maya's little pity parade," he said, handing me a glass of wine. "She's scrambling," I replied, trying to paint herself as the victim. Ethan leaned against the railing beside me. "Do you regret any of it?" I took a sip, slow and quiet. Not a single second. He didn't respond at first. Just looked out over the skyline. Then gently, "I admire it." I turned. "Admire what?" "The way you took control. Most people would have cried quietly and disappeared. You went to war." I laughed softly. "You say that like I had a choice." "You did," he said. "You chose the hard path. The one where you build everything yourself. And now you're stronger than all of them." There was something in his eyes. Something still and intense. Not lust. Not flirtation. But interest. Genuine, complicated, respectful. "I don't fall easily," I said, suddenly unsure why I needed to warn him. He gave a slow nod. "Then maybe you'll fall safely." My breath caught. Not because he leaned in, but because he didn't. He let the moment hang, unspoken, magnetic, and then shifted back into safe conversation. Professional. But protective. But somehow warm. When I got home, I stared at my reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at me wasn't the same one who'd stood frozen on stage, watching her fiancé give her trophy to someone else. This woman had fire in her eyes. And an empire at her fingertips. The morning after the rooftop conversation with Ethan, I woke to a barrage of notifications. Articles. Mentions. Emails. My inbox was practically on fire. Maya Reid files defamation lawsuit against Sienna Blake. Adrian Cruz breaks silence. I never meant to hurt her. Legal showdown brewing between former lovers? Leah burst through the door 5 minutes later, hair tied up in a furious bun, holding 2 coffees and 1 binder labeled Maya's Nonsense. "She did it," Leah growled, handing me the coffee. "Filed the suit at 6 a.m., sent the media copies at 6:05. I scanned the document. Claims of public humiliation, career sabotage, emotional distress. I couldn't help the laugh that slipped out. She really put emotional distress in writing after publicly stealing my award and my role? Leah grinned. I added a sticky tab on that part. Our legal team's going to frame it. Later that afternoon, Ethan walked into our production office just as I was finishing a call with our lawyer. Without a word, he handed me a manila envelope and sat on the corner of my desk. "What's this?" I asked. "Insurance," he said. "Let's make sure she doesn't forget what the truth looks like." Inside the envelope was a timeline. Dates, contracts, email threads. Ethan had traced Maya's communications and Adrian's backroom deals leading up to the awards show, including the early payment Maya had received before she was even officially attached to the veil between us. I looked up at him, stunned. "You did this." "I have contacts," he said simply. "And I don't like when someone tries to destroy my executive producer." My fingers curled slightly around the edges of the papers. I wasn't used to this kind of clean, quiet protection. Not from men. Not after Adrian. "You didn't have to," I said. Ethan met my eyes. "I did. It wasn't flirtation. It wasn't a favor. It was something rarer. It was alliance." By the next morning, Leah had released a surgical public statement through our studio's account. "We have received the legal documents and are confident in our position. Evidence contradicting the claims will be provided in court. Until then, we will continue to focus on creating impactful stories and ethical storytelling." The internet loved it. Especially when a follow-up post from Entertainment Verdict leaked Ethan Wolf's timeline, the very one he'd given me. Suddenly the lawsuit began to look like a desperate move. Public opinion tilted again. Hard comments flooded in. So Maya got paid in advance, lied about it, then sued? Bye. That man is a snake. And she's the one who danced in his garden. Sienna Blake's patience is a form of grace. I'd have dropped names by now. That evening, as if the world hadn't already crumbled for them, Adrian Cruz posted a long, pitiful video to his personal channel. He wore a hoodie. Dim lighting. No music. The classic, please feel bad for me aesthetic. I never meant for things to go this way, he began, voice thick with manufactured guilt. Sienna and we had something beautiful. But we drifted. And when I met Maya, I stopped the video. I'd heard enough. Leah shook her head. He's doing damage control. I give it 3 days before he shows up at your office pretending to be concerned. I wasn't worried. I was angry. But not in the uncontrolled way I used to be. Not the kind that screamed or broke things. This was sharper. Colder. This was the kind of anger that built studios out of spite and turned whispered insults into headlines. Ethan texted me later that night. He's spiraling. Skid. He underestimates what you've become. I replied. He thinks this ends with a public apology and a sad video. He doesn't realize I'm not trying to destroy him. I'm just not saving him anymore. Ethan's response came after a minute. If I were him, I'd be terrified. The next morning, Adrian did show up. Leah spotted him in the lobby and called me from her office. Do you want security to throw him out, or do we let him humiliate himself a little first? I smiled. Let him in. Let's give the man his final scene. When he entered the room, he had the nerve to look surprised by how much the place had changed. Walls filled with our concept art awards and our logo shining like a crown. SB Studios. I sat at the head of the conference table, calm as still water. Sienna, he said. You look amazing. And you, I said evenly, look like a man whose investments just evaporated. He laughed awkwardly. Look, I know you're mad. But this doesn't have to keep going. It already ended, I said. Back when you gave my award to your side project. His smile faded. I came to offer a truce. You came to ask for a lifeline, I corrected. He leaned forward, tone low. Maya's cracking. She won't survive this. And you, if you keep going, people are going to say you're vindictive. Let them, I said. Then what do you want? He snapped. A public apology? Me on my knees? What? I stood, walking to the door. What I want, I said, pausing, is for you to watch me win everything you thought you took. As he turned, defeated, to leave, Ethan appeared in the hallway behind him. He had his arms crossed, gaze cool, unreadable. Adrian blinked, clearly thrown. Ethan Wolf. Ethan didn't even blink. I'm exactly where I want to be. Adrian opened his mouth again but thought better of it. He walked out, shoulders slumped, ego crushed. Ethan looked at me as the door closed. You handled that well. Better than I would have a month ago. Want to spar over a new scene edit? I grinned. You're on. That night I posted one line to social media. The story they stole is being told the right way now. Thank you for waiting. It trended for 3 days straight. And Ethan Wolf commented beneath it. The best stories are born in fire. You're the flame. The first day of filming should have felt like pressure. Instead it felt like vindication. The studio lot buzzed with life. Crew hustling across set, costumes hanging in racks, script pages being fanned like playing cards. It was the most alive I had felt in weeks. I arrived early, coffee in hand, and found Ethan already there, head down, reviewing shot lists, completely absorbed. Morning, I said. He looked up, slow smile breaking through. You ready to make history? I already did, I replied. This is just the cinematic version. He chuckled, and the way he looked at me then, like he was proud, like he saw me fully, was worth more than any award ever could have been. Filming began with a tense scene, the protagonist confronting a man who betrayed her publicly. Dylan King, now in full costume, stood across from our lead actress, Lana Jean, a Broadway veteran with cutting cheekbones and fire in her eyes. I watched from behind the monitor as she delivered my words. Words I had written on a sleepless night post-betrayal. You gave the world your confession and you gave me the silence. So don't come crawling back now, begging for forgiveness in a language I no longer speak. The entire room held its breath. Ethan nodded once. Cut. I exhaled. Leah clapped slowly. Damn. That was personal. I smiled. They always are. After the first week, buzz began to build. The press kept trying to label the veil between us as a scandal project. But our team made it impossible to ignore the quality. Behind-the-scenes clips showed real chemistry. Our cast interviews went viral for being sharp, intimate, and refreshingly unscripted. Fans began speculating about a new power couple. Me and Ethan. We weren't feeding the rumors. But we weren't exactly denying them either. He stayed close on set. Always professional. But his presence was steady, grounded, quietly protective. Like the time a tabloid journalist snuck onto the lot posing as a background extra. I didn't even notice until Ethan leaned in and murmured, "Third row brown jacket. He doesn't belong." Security had him removed in 10 minutes flat. "You have eyes everywhere," I told him. "I protect what's mine," he replied without flinching. It wasn't flirtation. It was a warning. And I felt it, deep, reverberating. One evening as I was reviewing dailies, Leah burst into my office holding her tablet like it was a ticking bomb. "You are not going to believe this," she said, practically vibrating. "Prime Watch wants you for a one-on-one." "Who?" "Prime Watch. That investigative talk show. The one that brought down that corrupt CEO last year and exposed 3 celebrity cover-ups in a month." I blinked. "They want me. Not just you. They want the story. Full hour. National broadcast. No edits." For a second I hesitated. I'd spent weeks rebuilding. Reclaiming. Quietly fighting my battles with power and precision. But now, this would be loud. This would be firebombs over bridges. Leah watched my expression. "You don't have to say yes. But, if you want the world to hear the truth from you, this is the moment." My fingers drummed on the edge of the desk. "Do I get to approve the final cut?" "They'll let you record the whole thing for legal protection." "Then set it up," I said. "I'm ready." I told Ethan that night on set, during a late shoot under pouring artificial rain. He didn't react the way I expected. "No," he said flatly. I blinked. "No. I mean I don't like it," he clarified. "It's risky. They'll bait you. Twist things." "I know how to hold a line," I said. "I'm not worried about your words," he replied. "I'm worried about the aftermath. The backlash. People will dig deeper. They'll go after your family. Your friends. You'll lose whatever silence is left." I walked over to him slowly, the rain hissing behind us, steam rising off the pavement. "You once told me you protect what's yours," I said softly. "I do. Then trust me when I say, this is mine. This story. This voice. This choice." He looked at me for a long moment. His jaw clenched. Then finally he nodded. "Then I'll be there," he said. "Backstage. Just in case." The Prime Watch interview was scheduled for the following Tuesday. We kept it quiet, no press releases, no leaks. But the rumors were already swirling. I spent the weekend in prep, reviewing statements, going over receipts, building a timeline with Leah like it was a war dossier. But what I didn't expect was the text from Adrian. "You're going on Prime Watch. Don't do this, Sienna. Let it die. You've already won." I stared at it for a while. Then typed back. "I'm not doing it to win. I'm doing it so no one ever forgets who you really are." He never replied. Tuesday arrived. I wore a tailored white suit. Hair pulled back. Minimal makeup. I wanted nothing to distract from my words. Ethan walked me to the green room, eyes scanning every hallway like he was ready to block bullets. "You don't have to go in with me," I said. "I know," he said. "But I'm still here." The interview room was freezing. The cameras already set. The host, Monica Greer, greeted me with that calm, lethal grace only seasoned journalists had. "We'll start soft," she said. "But I won't be pulling punches. I wouldn't respect you if you did." And then we began. The studio lights buzzed above me, too white, too cold. The Prime Watch set was quiet, save for the steady hum of camera equipment and the low murmur of producers behind the glass. Monica Greer, the host known for dismantling billionaires with a single look, sat across from me in a sleek black blazer. Her expression was neutral, but her eyes were sharp. Watching. Calculating. She waited until the red light blinked on before she smiled. "Good evening," she said smoothly. Tonight we have with us Sienna Blake, actress, writer, producer, and the woman at the center of one of the most explosive scandals in the entertainment industry this year. I sat still. Calm. My white suit crisp. No jewelry. No flash. Just words. "Thank you for joining us," Monica said. "Thank you for having me. And just to clarify, you're here voluntarily without a PR team in the room, no pre-approved questions?" I nodded. "Correct. I have nothing to hide." Monica arched a brow. "Then let's begin." The first segment covered my career. My writing roots. My transition from screenwriting to acting. My quiet rise behind the camera. Monica was good, methodical, deliberate, but she hadn't touched the fire yet. Then she looked down at her notes and said softly, "Let's talk about the Celestial Crown Awards." Here it was. The clip played. Me walking toward the stage, Adrian stepping in, Maya joining him, the kiss, the trophy handed to the wrong woman. I watched without flinching. When the video ended, Monica looked up. "What were you thinking in that moment?" I met her gaze. I was thinking that for once, I should let a man humiliate himself uninterrupted. She blinked. Then laughed, surprised. And after that? I realized they were both standing on a stage I built with my own words, while handing each other an award I earned with my own story. The studio was silent. Monica leaned in. "You said nothing for weeks after that." "Why?" "Because I wasn't finished writing the ending. We talked about the veil between us. How Adrian manipulated casting. How Maya accepted roles that weren't hers. How they tried to erase me quietly." Then Monica lowered the folder on her lap and said, "Off the record, some believe you destroyed them on purpose. Do you think you've been too ruthless?" I tilted my head slightly. "Ruthless?" I echoed. "No. I think I've been accurate." Pause. "I didn't ruin them. I simply removed my silence. And when a woman stops apologizing, people mistake it for vengeance." There was a beat of silence. Then Monica said, "Do you think Maya was a victim too?" I hesitated. Just for a second. She was complicit. Maybe desperate. Maybe insecure. But she didn't stop him. She smiled and walked onto a stage she knew wasn't hers. She made a choice. Midway through the second segment, Monica touched on the lawsuit. "Let's talk about the defamation claims," she said. "You've stayed mostly quiet on this. Till now." I lifted a folder I'd brought with me. Inside, contracts, screenshots, voice notes, pay records, timestamps. I laid them on the table. "This is every lie they told. In writing." She leafed through it silently. "They said I blacklisted Maya. But I only reclaimed my project. They said I started rumors. But the only thing I spread was the truth. Every time they tried to smear me, I used facts." Monica didn't interrupt. I finished, voice steady. "I didn't sue for revenge. I countersued for accountability. And I'll win. Not just because I'm right, but because I documented every betrayal while they were busy posing for sympathy." Backstage, I knew Ethan was watching. Leah had updated me mid-broadcast. Social media was exploding. Hashtag Sienna Speaks. Hashtag Justice for the Real Writer. Hashtag Maya Exposed. But what I didn't expect was for Monica to end the interview with one final question. "Last one," she said, her voice gentler. "After all this, do you still believe in love?" I went quiet. Flashes of Ethan's steady eyes. His fierce loyalty. The way he stood beside me without needing to be in front. The way he never reached for me but always caught me. Then I said, "Yes. But not the kind that needs applause." The interview ended. Applause followed. Not from the crew. Not from Monica. From the world outside. By midnight, the full special had trended globally. Within 24 hours, Maya dropped her lawsuit and issued a legal statement of withdrawal and apology. Adrian, silent. For the first time, his Instagram comments were locked. His sponsors gone. His name vanished from 2 upcoming projects. I didn't even have to call him. The world did it for me. Ethan met me in the hallway after the show. "Congratulations," he said simply. "That was war." I laughed. "You said not to go on the show." "I didn't say I wouldn't be proud when you did." I hesitated. "It's over now. I don't think there's anything left to fight." He stepped closer. "Then maybe now, you let someone stand with you. Not behind. Not ahead. Just beside." The words hung in the air. He didn't touch me, didn't rush me. But in that moment I felt it, like gravity shifting. He wasn't here to save me. He was here because I had already saved myself. And he saw that. The studio sent me final viewership numbers the next day. Highest rated Prime Watch interview in 5 years. Network executives wanted me for a development deal. 2 novels based on my scripts had hit the bestsellers list. Leah cried when the studio's valuation doubled in a week. Jordan simply said, "Told you." And Ethan? He sent me a message. "If you're still up at 2 a.m. rewriting scenes, I'm bringing coffee. Don't argue." Ethan showed up at 2:04 a.m. true to his word. Coffee in one hand, extra hoodie in the other. "You looked cold during edits last time," he said casually, tossing it to me as he walked in. I stared at the hoodie for a second before slipping it on. It smelled like cedarwood and screenplay margins. "You're officially part of the 3 a.m. club," I said, motioning to the editing monitor. He looked over my shoulder at the scene I'd been adjusting. A tender moment between the main characters. Muted lighting, gentle pauses, raw silence that said more than any monologue ever could. "You rewrote this," he noted. "Yeah," I said. The original version felt manufactured. I wanted it real. Messy. Like trust earned instead of given. He studied the screen, then me. "Art imitates you," he murmured. I swallowed hard. "That a compliment?" "It's a warning," he said. "This kind of truth, you can't fake it. And you can't unfeel it." By morning, the studio buzzed with renewed momentum. The Prime Watch interview had made waves far beyond the entertainment industry. Feminist think pieces. Podcasts dissecting my every phrase. Even business blogs applauding my strategic silence then strike method. Leah practically skipped into my office. "We've been offered 6 new IP deals. One of them is a multi-platform contract. Video, print, audio, you name it. Send them to legal," I said, flipping through the top sheet. "But there's one you need to see now." She handed me a cream envelope. Handwritten. No logo. I opened it. Read once. Twice. Then looked up. "They want me to run the panel for this year's Celestial Crown Awards." Leah raised an eyebrow. "You mean, the same event where Adrian Cruz spit on your moment?" I nodded. "That one. They've got nerve. They've got panic," I said. "They're trying to clean house. Last year's scandal ruined their reputation." Leah crossed her arms. "So what are you thinking?" I stared at the invite for a moment longer, then slid it aside. "I'm thinking they're not worth my time. Unless. I rewrite the story from the same stage he tried to erase me from." Leah grinned. "Now you're speaking my language." Later that night, Ethan and I found ourselves alone again in the backlot. The set was wrapped, the crew gone. Just us, a bottle of wine, and too many unspoken things. "You're quiet tonight," he said. I glanced at him. "I got invited to speak at the Celestial Crown Awards." His expression didn't shift much, but his eyes sharpened. "You going?" "Don't know. Thought about it. Thought about burning it down. Thought about ignoring it." He nodded slowly. "And what do you want to do?" That question sat heavier than it should have. What did I want? For so long I wanted revenge. I got it. Then I wanted respect. I earned it. Now I wasn't sure. I said slowly, "I want peace." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's rare in this business." "Yeah, well, so am I." There was a pause. Not uncomfortable. Just thick with meaning. Then he said, "Sienna, I meant what I said the other night. That you protect what's yours? That I stand beside what I believe in." My breath hitched just slightly. "Are you saying that's me?" I asked more softly than I meant. He looked at me, really looked. "I'm saying I've seen every version of you now. Angry, ambitious, broken, terrifyingly brilliant. And I've never respected someone more." There was no dramatic music. No big swell. Just the quiet kind of confession that doesn't demand anything in return. But somehow gives everything. I didn't kiss him. Not yet. But I didn't look away either. The next day a new storm broke. A leaked audio recording surfaced. Drunk. On a call with an investor. His voice slurred, his words venom. "Sienna's not some genius. She's just the girl who got lucky. I made her. All of this, it was me." The backlash was swift. My inbox overflowed. Fans, journalists, fellow producers. Everyone wanted a response. Leah stormed into the editing suite, tablet in hand. Do we hit back? Public statement? Lawyer threat? I shook my head. No. She blinked. No. I don't need to reply. My work does it for me. Let him scream into the void. Ethan stood in the doorway, arms crossed. I have a better idea, he said. Don't respond. Replace him. Publicly. Visibly. On the record. He held up a proposal. His next film. Already funded. Already greenlit. And he wanted me to co-direct. I stared at him. You're serious? You've already proven you're a better producer than most of this industry. Now it's time to show them you're a better storyteller too. It wasn't just a job offer. It was trust. I'll do it, I said. But on one condition. What? You stop holding back. This time he hesitated. Then he stepped closer. One hand slipping gently around my wrist, grounding me. I've never wanted to rush you. I'm not rushing, I said. I'm asking. He studied me, then dipped his head just slightly. His lips brushed mine, soft, certain, anchoring. No performance. No spotlight. Just us. When he pulled away, he said, then I'm yours. Whatever this becomes, your story comes first. But I'll be in every chapter you let me. By the end of the week, the studio announced our next film. Co-directed by Sienna Blake and Ethan Wolfe. And the Celestial Crown Awards? I RSVP'd. As the keynote speaker. The night of the Celestial Crown Awards arrived cloaked in silk and irony. The red carpet shimmered under camera flashes. Whispers trailed behind me like perfume as I stepped from the car in a black satin gown. Simple, striking, and stitched with power. I wasn't here for revenge anymore. But that didn't mean I wouldn't be seen. Ethan walked beside me, dressed in a midnight black tuxedo with a charcoal pocket square that somehow matched the color of his gaze when he wasn't amused, which was most of the time lately. He didn't hold my hand. He didn't need to. He walked like a man who would stand in front of me if anything tried to hurt me, and like a man who knew I could burn everything down before it even got close. Inside, the ballroom was just as I remembered, gold-lit chandeliers, floor-length gowns, and fake smiles wrapped in expensive teeth. Except this time I wasn't just a nominee or a guest. I was the keynote speaker. And I was sitting front row. The very seat Maya once snuck into. The very space Adrian had stolen from me. Tonight it was mine again. The show began with a glittery montage of past winners. I watched as my name flickered across the screen for Best Original Screenplay, a moment nearly erased. The room clapped. Some awkwardly, some enthusiastically. And then the host stepped up. Tonight's keynote is not just a speech, it's a comeback. Please welcome Sienna Blake. I rose slowly. Every step up that stage echoed across the floor like a heartbeat. This time there was no Adrian. No surprise kisses. No stolen spotlights. Just me, a mic, and a room full of people who once wrote me off. I stood there for a second. Let them wait. Then I began. A year ago I stood right about here. Only I wasn't the speaker. I wasn't even allowed to finish walking to the mic. My moment was hijacked. My work, dismissed. But betrayal is a funny thing. It teaches you who you are when applause disappears. I paused. And what I learned is that I don't need applause. I don't need a trophy to tell me I wrote something worth hearing. What I need, what every woman in this room needs, is to never let anyone else narrate our story again. They clapped then. A little stunned. A little hesitant. I let them. This industry thrives on reinvention. But let me be very clear. My story wasn't reinvented. It was reclaimed. I didn't rise from the ashes. I walked out holding the match. The room went still. Then, thunderous applause. I stepped off the stage to a standing ovation. But the moment my heels hit the floor, someone appeared in my path. Adrian Cruz. His hair was shorter. His tuck slightly too tight. His smile desperate. Sienna, he began, can we talk? I didn't respond. He followed me 2 steps, lowering his voice. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I've lost everything. I thought she loved me. She? I asked. You mean the woman you gave my award to? He flinched. It wasn't like that. I gave a cold smile. No. It was exactly like that. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a white envelope. Here, he said, voice low. It's the signed retraction. from the lawsuit. And my public apology draft. I don't want to fight anymore. I didn't reach for the envelope. Ethan was already at my side. He didn't say a word. Just stood behind me, tall, silent, formidable. Adrian looked between us. So that's it? He wins. I tilted my head. There's no competition. You lost me the day you thought I was something to step over. Adrian's mouth opened. But before he could speak, Ethan stepped forward. His voice low, dangerous. You should go. Adrian froze. Ethan's tone was calm, but it held weight. It wasn't a threat. It was a warning from a man who didn't need to raise his voice to protect what mattered. Adrian backed away slowly, the envelope still in his hand. Good luck, he muttered and disappeared into the crowd. I turned to Ethan. You didn't have to do that, I said quietly. Yes, I did, he said. Because I know you don't need rescuing. But that doesn't mean you should face your past alone. Later that night we returned to the rooftop where this all began. The city buzzed below us. Champagne in hand, heels tossed aside, I stood barefoot beside the man who had helped me remember who I was, even when I wanted to forget. Ethan held out a small box. I raised an eyebrow. This better not be a ring. He smirked. It's not. I opened it. Inside, a pendant. Small. Silver. Engraved with one word. Writer. I stared at it. I figured everyone keeps calling you a producer, an actress, a symbol, he said. But that's not what you started as. And it's not what you'll ever stop being. I touched the chain. It's perfect. Wear it, he said. Next time someone tries to rewrite your story, remind them who holds the pen. That night, as we stood watching the city sleep, he leaned down and whispered, I'm falling for you. My breath caught. You sure? He nodded. You terrify me. In the best way. I smiled slowly. Then fall carefully. I don't believe in safety nets. I'm not asking for one, he said. Just a place in your next chapter. The premiere night of The Veil between us arrived like a quiet storm. No chaos. No desperate PR campaigns. No scandals hiding in designer gowns. Just the weight of everything I'd fought for. All of it crystallized into a single film and a single evening. Red carpets no longer scared me. Spotlights didn't blind me. Because I wasn't walking into someone else's dream anymore. I was stepping into my own. And this time Ethan was at my side. Not behind me, not in front of me, but exactly where I had wanted him all along. The venue was a restored opera house lit in soft gold, humming with anticipation. Cameras flashed, voices rose in whispers of awe as the cast arrived. Dylan King. Lana Jean. The press barely recognized the silent man beside me in a sharp-tailored suit until someone whispered, Is that Ethan Wolfe holding her hand? Yes. Yes, it was. But he wasn't the headline. I was. And I wasn't there to make noise. I was there to make history. The opening credits rolled, and for the first time I didn't grip my seat. I didn't brace for failure. I leaned back, chin high, and watched my words come to life with the grace I had once been denied. The audience laughed in the right moments. They held their breath in silence during the monologues I had written at 3 a.m. with tears slipping down my cheeks. And when the final line played, You thought you wrote me out. But all you did was give me a sharper pen. There was a pause. Then applause. Real, thunderous, standing ovation applause. I closed my eyes for a moment and let it wash over me. Later that night at the after-party beneath chandeliers and soft jazz, Ethan pulled me aside. You did it, he said. No, I corrected. We did. He studied me with that quiet intensity that never needed words. Then he reached into his pocket and handed me a small folded piece of paper. What's this? An offer, he said. To run our next project. As head of a joint production house. Yours and mine. I opened the paper and saw the logo. Silver Blake Studios. I laughed, touched beyond language. You're naming it after us? No, he said. I'm naming it after the moment your story changed mine. As the night slipped into soft shadows and farewells, Leah appeared with a glass of champagne and the world's biggest grin. The ratings are in. Advance numbers just dropped. She held out her phone. I read the headline. The Veil Between Us breaks opening night records, hailed as a masterpiece of revenge and rebirth. I looked around the room. Familiar faces. New allies. Family. My crew. And Ethan, quiet watching always nearby. I never thought I'd get here, I said. You didn't just get here, Leah replied. You built here. Days later, I visited a quiet bookshop tucked in a corner of the city. No cameras. No attention. Just me. I walked to the shelf where the screenplay collection sat and ran my fingers over the title. The Veil Between Us, a screenplay by Sienna Blake. I smiled. Behind me, a little girl tugged her mother's sleeve and pointed. That's the woman who writes the movies. I turned and winked at her. Actually, I said, I rewrite the endings. Months passed. Maya moved to Europe. Quietly. Adrian faded from headlines. Deservedly. My studio flourished. But the most unexpected part? I was happy. Not loud, not manic, not the kind of happy you post online. The kind of happy where you wake up and the weight is gone. Where you write because you want to, not because you're proving you still can. Where you love someone who never once tries to dim you to shine brighter. One night, Ethan and I stood on a balcony overlooking the city. A soft breeze tangled in my hair. Did you ever imagine this life? He asked. No, I said. But I imagined the moment I stopped surviving and started living. And this is it? I looked at him, his hand in mine, my name on studio doors, my story in the hearts of millions. Yes, I said. This is exactly it. The spotlight he stole from me? I never needed it. Because I had something better all along. My voice. My fire. And now, finally, my peace. Dizzy.